Well, here we are again in another episode of You and Me and Multiple Sclerosis. Welcome, everyone. And I particularly want to say welcome if you happen to be a caregiver, someone who lives with a person with MS, someone who loves a person with MS, someone who puts up with a person who has MS, right? Because, yeah, it's not the easiest thing. We all know that. But we thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts, because living with someone who has a chronic illness, trying to take care of them, not really knowing what to do, because, for the most part, you're not professionally trained, right? So this is all very new. It's new territory, and it's new for us too. So we're learning right along with you. But I did want to pull up an article because one of the things that I do know is that multiple sclerosis is very hard on relationships, and I'm aware of that. In this article, and I put the URL down at the bottom there, this is just a fragment of the article, but it talks about multiple sclerosis and the care that's required, but it talks about how chronic illness has a harmful effect on marriages. And according to a study of the University of Michigan, a lot of marriages, I should say, fail because of chronic illness, and MS being, of course, one of the big ones. Cancer, they also looked at as well. Cancer will do the same thing. Couples will divorce when one partner becomes chronically ill. And it says in a second paragraph, in fact, a woman is 6 times more likely to be separated or divorced soon after a diagnosis of either cancer or multiple sclerosis. So 6 times more frequently than a man in the relationship. And I, of course, do not like to make generalizations, but I do believe that a lot of the time when people get married, because let's face it, the divorce rate in general in this country is very, very high. But when people get married, they kind of have an expectation that there's going to be certain activities that the couple does together. They're going to enjoy a certain lifestyle. They're going to have a certain standard of living. They have plans for the future, children, no children, travel, whatever. And then along comes this diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, and it's like the brakes are suddenly put on in a big way. Now, for some partners in those relationships, that change is more than they can handle, and they leave. And, this can have devastating consequences for the person who has the chronic illness, because sometimes the person who leaves is the person who was carrying the insurance benefits. There's usually a change in income status. There's a change in the ability to live life, right? Because we with MS, we rely on our partners to help us with things that we have trouble doing ourselves. And even if you're fairly abled, I guess at this point, I can still walk, I can still do many things, but there's many things I just can't do. I either don't have the stamina, the strength, whatever, the patience, and that's a huge thing. I think I already mentioned that. The patience is a problem. So all of a sudden we're alone, and it's not fun, and it's not easy. So my hat is off to you. If you are a caregiver or a partner of someone who has MS, my hat is off to you for staying, because if you're here and you're listening to this video, that means that you care, right? I mean, you wouldn't sit through this if you didn't care. So thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. Now, I would love to be able to give you tips on how to deal with this, right? How to care for the person, how to live with the person. But as I said in many of my other videos, my MS is not somebody else's MS. And I could tell you how I like to be cared for, but that doesn't matter if your partner or your loved one is not in that same situation. Maybe they want more or less or whatever. But I will say this. that there is a continuum. As with everything, there is a continuum. You can either be too hands-on or too hands-off. So too hands-on means you overly indulge the person, you overly jump in and do everything for them, or worry if they try to be independent that something terrible might happen, whatever. In a lot of ways, all you're doing is trying to be helpful. We understand that, but it doesn't. It's, first of all, it's very wearing on you, but I think it also creates a feeling in the person with MS that perhaps they're even more disabled than they thought they were. So that's something to watch. And then on the other hand, you could just be too hands off. You could just say, well, she always was really independent before, and she could do anything she wanted to. I don't think she's going to appreciate it if I step in and try to do stuff for her. She'll just get mad at me, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to, let her do her thing. And if she wants help, I'm going to leave it up to her to ask for it. Well, okay, that's a strategy. And I guess, in some relationships, that may be the one. That may be what your partner expects. But if for me, I will just speak for me personally, I kind of lean more toward the middle because there are, and I think it's up to my husband to understand my MS a little bit there. He has to know what I can do and what I have struggles with. And he also has to know, with my struggles, do I want to keep struggling and just do it, or do I want him to step in and help me? I've also had to learn to ask for help in much more readily than I did in the past. I never really liked to ask for help before because I was very independent. And I think I talked in an earlier video that according to Dr. Swank, who was quite an expert on MS in his day, everyone he studied, he said, MS seems to preferentially attack the people who are real type A, real independent, real go-getters, lots of drive, lots of whatever. and people like that, first of all, they struggle a lot with the disease itself, but they also struggle with other people stepping in to try to help them because they're not used to having to have help. They're not used to needing help. It's very hard for all concerned, and you can almost understand why the divorce rate is pretty high, but at the same time, I think we with MS, we need caregivers, we need people who love us around us maybe more than ever, because MS can be so isolating. The tendency for many of us is to just, what, I'd love to go to that event, but I already know it's going to be a big ordeal for me just even getting ready, let alone going through it. I think I'll just stay home. And without that person who lovingly comes alongside and says, it'll be all right. I know you really want to go. Let's just try. Let's just try. And I will do this for you, or I will make this arrangement or whatever. Let's give it a shot. And I think that's kind of what's needed, maybe, is more looking at it as a partnership and an enterprise, right? You're not really sure of the future, but I have news for you. Nobody is sure of the future. When we marry somebody, we assume that our lives are going to be a certain way, but look at your own life. I mean, it's never turned out the way you thought, just from the time that you decided, I'm going to major in this certain thing, and then you changed your major, you changed your college, you dropped out of school, whatever. Your career, the same thing. Nobody knows what the future holds. And so this isn't really any different. It's just a new set of challenges. And if you really decide that you're going to be in it for the long haul, I can't thank you enough for that. I would not want to live with me, quite honestly. I would not want to live with me. And yet I know I have a lot to offer still. I want to be a friend. I want to be a wife. I want to be a neighbor. I want to go to my church and be actively involved. And I do quite a lot of that. But I know that without my husband there to support me, I would probably do less because I would just not even try. And I think that's the thing with folks with MS is that when we get into that spiral of not even wanting to try, that's danger. That is, because it is a depressing feeling that your life is so changed that you can no longer do what you had wanted to do. Okay, I think I'm rambling, and I didn't mean to be doing that, but I just felt like I needed to say something about how it is with living with a person with multiple sclerosis. Every day is a new adventure. So I guess in a way it could be fun. It could be exciting, right? I guess just take it that way. And if you didn't think of yourself as a caregiver before, you may learn something about yourself. You may learn you have reserves of caring and patience you never knew you had. And I think that's what's necessary above all is love and patience and never failing, right? Just staying with it. No matter how tough it gets, just stay with it, because there are good days. There are good days, and we hope that those good days will make all the other days worthwhile. Now, thank you again, and I will see you again in another video where we will talk about, I think one of these days I'm going to be talking about some more books, but who knows? We'll see what ends up inspiring me to talk. So you guys take care. We'll see you soon.